catcher. The Giants drew $1.7 million this year. Not among the higher figures in baseball, but they sold out their last 5 regular season games as they move toward clinching it in the West. Here's the Marlin lineup. Abbott, Renteria, Sheffield, Bonilla, Alou, Conine in against the left-hander at first, Johnson, White, and the pitcher Fernandez. And Bonilla, the switch hitter, as you see, really feasted on left-handers. We'll see what he can do against Alvarez this evening. Scouting report on the former White Sox.
Well, let's take a look at Wilson Alvarez. He pitched a no-hitter in his first start in the big leagues for the White Sox. He has a 90-plus mile-an-hour fastball. He throws a very sharp breaking curveball. Has an excellent changeup. The key is if he can throw strikes. So if you're a hitter, you have to make him throw the ball in the strike zone. And let's take a look at the defense for the Giants. And J.T. Snow at first base, a Gold Glove winner the last couple of years, and he's expected to maybe win another one here in the National League this year. Very good defensive first baseman.
They imported their double play combination, as you look at Snow, from the Cleveland Indians in that Matt Williams deal. Jeff Kent and Jose Vizcaíno. And Bonds, of course, is still a Gold Glove candidate in the outfield. Kent led them with 121 RBIs. That trade was so unpopular that the switchboard was flooded with complaints. They thought it hurt their season ticket sales. Williams was rightly very popular in these parts, but it's turned out well. They also got Julian Tavares, the right-handed reliever, in the deal, along with a new double play combination, and Kent was extremely productive for them in the middle of their order. Tonight's crew, with Charlie Relaford behind the plate and Harry Wendelstedt, the veteran, is the crew chief. The left side of the diamond, extending out to the outfield, is in shadows, but still bright sunlight in right field. You can see the shadow cast by the light standard out there, and it could be difficult. A tough sun in right field, Joe. You know this ballpark well.
Very difficult to play right field this time of the day.
Herb Abbott stands in, starting against the left-hander. Lost his everyday job to Craig Counsell in the middle of the season. And ball one. Alvarez was a combined 13-11 for the year, 4-3 in 11 National League starts. Didn't face the Marlins before today. A ball and a strike.
Joe said earlier, talking about Alvarez and watching him pitch in those seasons with the White Sox, he does throw hard. He's a power type pitcher, but does have a very good change of pace. Likes to pitch inside too. He's one of those guys that can get inside, fastball or breaking balls. Good slider.
Bottom fell out of that one, 1-2.
That was it right there, Bob. That's it, breaking ball. And again, as Joe pointed out, make him throw strikes. If you make him bring the ball into the strike zone, you got a shot at him. But here's that sharp breaking slider down and in, and Abbott chased it.
Hit toward first. Snow doesn't boot many. 1 out. To the plate, Edgar Renteria, flashing back to game 1. A 2-out hit off Roberto Hernandez. Got the Marlins going in this series as they win it in the bottom of the 9th.
Bob, Renteria had 5 game-winning hits in the bottom of the 9th or later during the season. So that should not have been unexpected, at least not by the Marlins.
Strike 1 to him.
And one more point I want to make. Glenn Hallen-Hill has had some problems in right field, Bob, especially early in the ball game when the sun is in his eyes out there in right field. So have to be careful of anything that goes out that way.
That one's in there too.
Shot at J.T. Snow. Now every time Alvarez gets ready to deliver, Snow's got that hand or glove up, and it's tough on the right side all over. Second base, first base, and in right field.
Fouled out of play. Alvarez, the 27-year-old Venezuelan, is 6'1" and a chunky 235. He has one previous postseason start, and it was a good one. He beat Toronto for the White Sox in Game 3 at Skydome in the '93 American League Championship Series. He would have pitched Game 7 had it gone that far, but Toronto won it in 6.
And that game in Toronto, Bob, also came when his team was down 2-0. So he's pitched in this situation before. And everyone I talk to, both sides of the field say that Wilson Alvarez is a big game pitcher.
Pitched a complete game on that occasion 4 Octobers ago. He comes to the plate on 1-2, and the count levels. Renteria hit .277 for the regular year and stole 32 bases. He also led the National League with 19 sacrifice bunts, so he's a useful player and a very good guy with the glove at short. He goes down swinging.
That's the overpowering fastball that he has, and he has a lot of movement on his pitches.
This is what Sheffield did down the stretch. He hit .324, and he needed that just to get to .250. Last year he hit 42 home runs, knocked home 120. This year just 21 and 71. High and away for a ball, although Sheffield is as dangerous as anybody in either lineup when he gets hot. You'd have to say that over the course of 162 games, the Marlins did not get their $10 million worth from him. Last year might have been that kind of year. That's what earned him the contract. The dividends weren't quite what they expected in year 1 of the deal.
But sometimes that $10 million scares the pitchers off too, and they did not pitch to him early in the season. Then he found himself in the slump when they did pitch to him. You watch Wilson Alvarez, he's trying to stay away from Sheffield. You have to stay away from him. He's very quick, middle of the plate in.
3-0.
Every time I watch this guy, and I've seen him from the start when he was with the Brewers in the American League, every time I watch him hit and cock that bat back and forth, Joe, I didn't swing that hard. I really didn't.
He does get it going.
Oh, he gets some action.
In there for a strike. Ted Simmons, in his day, one of the best pure hitters in the National League with the Cardinals and finished up in the American League with the Brewers, now an advanced scout for the Cleveland Indians, says that Sheffield has the fastest bat in the majors.
You will not get an argument from me or from Alvarez. He's aware of that.
Very cautious, and he walks him.
121 walks this year for Sheffield. 3rd in the National League. Pitching around that guy constantly.
We're going to take a look at the last pitch sequence. Fastball away. See Brian Johnson sitting outside trying to hit the outside corner. That's a 3-0 pitch. Now back away with a changeup.
Except for ball 4, none of them missed by much.
Right. Well, they're going to try to hit the outside edge. And if Gary wants to swing at it, okay. But they will not pitch to him, I don't believe, with 2 outs and the base is empty. He's going to have to go out of the strike zone some today.
Bonilla now, 3 hits, including a homer in Game 2.
Alvarez does a pretty good job of holding runners at first base. Sheffield stole second base in the last ball game when Fernandez did not check him at first, and he stole second base easily and scored the winning run. But Alvarez will hold him pretty close at first base.
Bonilla has swung the bat well in the first 2 games of this series, but coming in, he had a postseason career batting average of 190. A called strike. That's in 79 previous postseason at-bats, mostly with Pittsburgh, then last year with Baltimore.
And a lot of that could be attributed to the fact that he and Barry Bonds had poor postseason play before. They were always facing the Atlanta Braves and that great pitching staff when they were with Pittsburgh.
Here it is on 0-1. And Alvarez quickly gets ahead of him. A tip back into the glove of Johnson.
at those numbers, man. 190 and 191. These are guys that have hit over 300 several times in their career and driven in a lot of runs.
I think Houston will attest to that, Joe. They were knocked out today against Atlanta. That great pitching staff, John Smoltz. Unbelievable.
Smoltz with a complete game 3 hitter at the Astrodome, and the Braves make quick work of Houston. 4-1 today's final. They sweep and await the winner of this series. The 0-2 pitch is hit high in the air to left, but he didn't get all of it. Bonds is back nearly to the track, but not quite. And that'll do it for the Marlins in the first. Giants coming up when we return to 3 Comp Park. Here's the lineup the Giants will use against Alex Fernandez tonight. Stan Javier is in center field. Darrell Hamilton has a hip flexor injury and won't play tonight. Miller at third, Bonds of course in left, and Jeff Kent, whose previous high RBI season came a few years back with the Mets, and that was just 80, so he topped that by 41. He's the cleanup man.
And Alex Fernandez with a very good fastball. He's got a curve, slider, and a change. Will change straight off the fastball once in a while. His control seems to be a problem from time to time. He'll work a lot of innings. You talk about two similar guys as they have that little meeting behind the mound. Fernandez and Wilson Alvarez, both stocky, both very durable.
And there's the defense behind it. Fernandez. Johnson has not made an error in 171 straight games, which is a record. And he's a great thrower. He won a Gold Glove last year. He's going to probably win another one this year. He is one of the better catchers in all of baseball. He and Ivan Rodriguez.
He last made an error, speaking of Charles Johnson, in June of 1996. Javier, the switch hitter, takes a strike. Interesting little meeting behind the mound. Usually when guys get together like that, the next sentence is somebody run a button hook and I'll hit you over the middle.
They did have a huddle out there, but the quarterback wasn't there. Charles Johnson stayed behind the plate.
Javier cuts and misses.
There's that little changeup curveball that Fernandez will use from time to time. He's not afraid to change off the curve either. Change, straight change, and then the breaking ball take a little bit off.
Javier's 5 for 8 through the first 2 games and fouls that one out of play. The son of the former Cardinal Julian Javier is a 12-year Major League veteran who's bounced around Yankees, Dodgers, Angels, Phillies, Oakland twice, and now the Giants. In the World Series with the A's in '88 and '89. A ball and 2 strikes.
Well, he brings a lot of versatility to your ball club. He can play all the outfield positions. He's played first base, and he's a very good pinch hitter. He switch hits. He runs well. He does a lot of things that keeps him on ball clubs.
And a strikeout victim to start the Giant first. Alex Fernandez has faced the Giants twice previously this year and lost both times. In postseason with the White Sox in '93, he was 0-2 against Toronto, but he pitched well in both games. His ERA was under 2 in those 2 starts. 17-12 for the year. ERA of about 3.5. And a strike to Bill Miller, the switch hitting third baseman. That's Jeff Conine at first for the Marlins. He doesn't have to shade his eyes as J.T. Snow did in the top half of the inning. The sun has already moved past the infield, creeping out toward the right fielder in terms of the shadows.
The outfielders are still in that sunlight. Tough field for Gary Sheffield.
This one is popped up. Johnson off with the mask. No play.
The hitters will feel better about themselves as soon as the sun disappears from center field, because they're looking into that bright sunlight out there in center field and then into the shadows. There you get a view of it.
Wind has really picked up since we arrived at the ballpark too, Joe, and it's always been a nemesis here at Candlestick Park. It has made a lot of infielders and outfielders look very, very bad. There you see what we're talking about.
2-2.
We were talking earlier tonight, and Joe Morgan and former teammate, great player Tony Perez, talking about fielding pop-ups or chasing pop-ups in this ballpark and accusing each other of telling the other guy, you got it. Even though it could have been played by Morgan, he said, Perez, you got it. It was the other way around. There's Gary Sheffield in right. It's trouble out there.
Rolled to the right side, and Conine with a dive can't get it. Miller with a one-out single.
This is the situation the Giants pull for, trying to get someone on base in front of Barry Bonds. And Miller hits a ground ball in the hole. Conine gives it a good effort, but he can't quite get there. And the ball goes into right field for a base hit. And Conine gets a pretty good jump on it. Just can't get there in time. But you always want someone on base when Barry Bonds comes up, because that means they have to pitch to him.
Those numbers are not overwhelming, but at least a good start for a guy who hit just 191 in 3 previous postseasons. Foul ball.
Unlike Gary Sheffield, you have to stay tight on Barry Bonds with your fastball, as Fernandez did there. But the problem is that when you miss 6 inches and move it back out over the plate, that's when he hits one of those 40 home runs he hit this year. You have to throw him fastballs in and move away with a changeup. But you have a very small margin of error on the inside part of the plate.
Off the outside corner, 1-1. There's the active home run list, likely to be led by McGuire when next season begins. Most people think Eddie Murray is now finished. Two balls and a strike to Barry Bonds, who narrowly missed his second consecutive 40-40 season. He hit exactly 40 home runs and stole 37. Huge in September. 7 homers in a 9-game stretch with the division title on the line. 2-2.
And they were waiting all season for him to get hot and carry them. And he got hot at the right time. They were 2 games behind the Dodgers. The Dodgers came here for 2. And he got hot and carried them the rest of the way.
What a great series that was with it on the line. Everything was on the line. Remember back when the Dodgers had the 2-game lead over San Francisco and everybody said sayonara, see you later. The Giants answered. They came back in a great series against the Dodgers. And here they are.
Miller at first with 1 out, bottom of the first. And a full count to Barry Bonds.
If you're going to throw up there too on Bonds, you better make sure you got a little extra on it. I'm telling you. Fernandez that time upstairs, he missed outside. And again, if you're going to miss outside, as you look at Jim Leland, again, you're not going to get him to chase out there. He knows what you're doing too.
Fouls it off, and Miller was running with 1 out on the 3-2 pitch.
And that's probably the only time you'll see anyone other than Barry Bonds, maybe Stan Javier, run on Charles Johnson. He shuts down the opposition's running game. There's Johnny B, or better known as Dusty Baker. He goes through a gauntlet of emotions during a ball game.
Miller goes again, and the 3-2 pitch is popped to the left side. Bonilla back into foul ground, and now the wind takes it back into fair territory, and Renteria, taking nothing for granted, was right there.
And that reminded me of what the one Tony Perez was talking about today, Bob. He was calling, and I let him call it, and he dropped it. This is a tough field to play. The wind blows the ball back toward third base. Bobby Bonilla probably forgot about that. Luckily, Edward Renteria is there to make the catch. And see, Bobby's over in foul territory, and the ball comes back fair, and a nice play by Renteria.
He's not the first guy that's taken a dive here chasing a pop-up. Behind home plate, they're terrible. They really are. I mean, you look so bad on pop-ups. There's the flags again. I mean, they're really whipping out towards right. To call a pop-up behind the home plate and then have the third baseman or first baseman catch it in fair territory is embarrassing. It really is. And I would imagine, Joe, prior to this place being enclosed, it was a lot worse.
It definitely was tough. At least then, though, it blew mainly toward right field. Now it just swirls a lot.
Jeff Kent, breaking ball for a strike. Kent hit .250, 29 homers, 121 RBIs.
And the way they will pitch Jeff Kent is to throw him a lot of breaking balls and try to keep the ball away.
0 for 6 in the series so far. Inside, 1-1. As you can see, this is really a breakout season for him. When Brian Sabean, the excellent GM of the Giants, swung the deal with Cleveland, he got $1 million, Jose Vizcaino, Julian Taveras, and Jeff Kent for Matt Williams, and had to call a press conference and declare, look, I'm not an idiot. This ball is sliced to right and foul into the bullpen.
Well, they definitely were not calling him an excellent GM as you did when he made that move, but you're right.
But
he
think
did a great
about
job.
it. He got Sean Estes from Seattle for Solomon Torres. He got J.T. Snow from the Angels for Alan Watson. He did an excellent job as the scouting director and farm director at various times for the Yankees. Derek Jeter, Mariano Rivera, Andy Pettit, people like that coming up under his watch, either scouted them or nursed them along through the farm system. He's done some good work in baseball. Miller, who's singled with 1 out, is at first with 2 down here in the bottom of the first. No score. J.T. Snow on deck. Line to right, there's a hit. Miller to second. Sheffield fields it, and Miller will hold there. Throwing behind him, and Renteria diving to try to make the tag. First and second, 2 out.
Good job of hitting there by Kent, because most of the time they throw him breaking balls with 2 strikes and they come off the plate with a fastball in to keep him honest. But here they go away with a fastball again, and he goes that way. Most teams will pitch him away, but they have to keep him honest by coming off the plate inside sometime. But a good job there, and Miller almost gets caught off base there. This is a good job by Sheffield of hitting the cutoff man. See, if he overthrows the cutoff man, no chance, but he hits the cutoff man. Renteria there to cut it off and try to nail Bill Miller at second base.
Gary Sheffield always had a great arm. That was one of his strong suits when he came to the pros, especially the major leagues. He had a great throwing arm. And almost as you said, Joe, nailed him coming back to the bag. He wanted to be a shortstop so bad in Milwaukee that he left. And not left to go to Miami. He walked out of the clubhouse a few times.
Did they let him play short when he came back?
No. That's why he's in Miami.
A ball and a strike.
No, he said he was drafted as a shortstop, and that's what he wanted to play. He figured it was a glory position. And I mean, a guy with the kind of power that he has and a great throwing arm, he had speed, he had everything it takes. But he's happy now. Who wouldn't be?
1-2 to J.T. Snow, who hit .281 for the year. But look at this disparity. He's a switch hitter who hit .313 left-handed with 27 of his 28 home runs. Right-handed, he hit .188 with 1 home run. Why bother to switch? Hit .199 right-handed last year. 2-2.
He may have an excuse this year, though, Bob. Remember, he was hit in the face with a Randy Johnson fastball hitting from the right side in spring training, so you may have flashbacks when you stand on the right side.
Two out, 2 on, and the 2-2 pitch. Check swing, roller left side, Bonilla charging, got it. A pair of singles go to waste to the Giant first. No score after 1.
NBC's coverage of tonight's Division Series game is brought to you by Head & Shoulders, because great hair can't have flakes. By PlayStation, a bit of advice for gamers everywhere. Never underestimate the power of PlayStation. By Gatorade Thirst Quencher, you don't have to live thirsty. Life is a sport. Drink it up. And by Mercedes-Benz. Come by your local authorized dealer and fall in love.
The view from the Goodyear Blimp Eagle, which is based in Carson, California, providing the aerial shots for us. 1997 marks the 72nd consecutive year a Goodyear Blimp has flown over a major sporting event. Moises Alou will start it. High and away from Wilson Alvarez. Hit to short. Backhanded by Vizcaíno. 1 out.
Let's take a look at the last pitch to JT Snow at the end of the inning. Watch the rotation on this ball. It's a backup slider that he checked it. Now we're going to give you a different view of it. Here's the pitch as it comes in, and it sinks. That was an 88-mile-an-hour fastball that kind of sunk down, and JT Snow tried to check his swing, and he hit a ground ball to third. Actually, it was a backup slider. I did the difference. Backups.
I'm with you. I'm with you all the way.
Sure, just making sure here.
Here's Conine.
Because you didn't play, it doesn't mean anything.
Well, I just want to provide some support.
We understand it all the way.
I'm just not.
Jump in here.
I was actually catching a brief rest. Here's the 0-1.
Most of yours are brief.
You know, the abuse starts here early in the contest. The 1-1 pitch to the first baseman. There was a time early in the brief history of the Marlins that Conine was pretty much their marquee guy. This could be his last year with the team. They added some $80 million in salary commitments in the offseason. They may be looking to trim payroll no matter how deep into the postseason they advance. And Conine no longer plays every day. They got Darren Dalton, who can't catch anymore, and nobody would catch ahead of Charles Johnson anyway, so Dalton plays some first base against right-handed pitchers. Here's the improvement year to year. Actually a fallback for a while, and then they got to almost 500 and then broke through to take the wild card.
And for him to be in his first postseason that the Marlins ever played, I think that's kind of a reward for being there all those years. A little bit of that payroll you were talking about.
That's a little more than a little bit of it.
Bonilla takes home a pretty nice check.
Alvarez's 2-2 pitch. Well, they added Moises Alou, Bobby Bonilla, Alex Fernandez, re-signed Sheffield and Rob Nen, brought in Jim Leland at a pretty high price tag for a manager. They improved their team, and the owner, Wayne Huizenga, says they lost $30 million in the process. At third base, Miller guns it across the diamond for the second out. Not coincidental that baseball's highest payrolls belong to playoff teams. In a sense, you could say that Florida is the quintessential team of the late 90s. They unload $80 million on free agents. They get into the playoffs as the wild card. They lose $30 million doing it, and their owner says he wants to sell the team.
Go figure. Huh?
Charles Johnson hit .250, which was an improvement from .216 a year ago. And he also hit 19 home runs. He could hit 150 and you'd still want him in the lineup.
Boy, I tell you, I haven't had a chance to see this guy too much, but what I've seen of him and what they say about him, one of the best in baseball. They talk about that kid over in Texas, Ivan Rodriguez. He's an outstanding catcher and thrower. But to go through a season plus without making an error, and Jim Leland said it. He said July and August, this guy got hot and carried us. Good receiver.
Good would be very faint praise in his case. He had one of the greatest defensive years at any position in the modern history of baseball. No errors, and only one pass ball. That came in September. And remember, his pitching staff includes Kevin Brown, who has that nasty sinker. And he walks with 2 outs here on 4 pitches. Second walk, Alvarez is allowed. You can follow the baseball postseason online at MLBWorldSeries.com. Check in and see our video play of the day, plus log on for daily player chats with some of the biggest names in the game, and take part in our live vote on the topic of the day. All on MLBWorldSeries.com. Did you log on today, Uke? What is the topic of the day? What's the topic of the day, buddy?
Well, we were talking about our flight tonight from California, Northern California, all the way to Cleveland, Ohio, and the things that we're going to be seeing along the way.
And, you know, that is fascinating material. I'm sure millions of Americans will want to become further familiar with our itinerary.
www.com and late arrival.
Devon White. 1-1 to him. The switch hitting veteran hit .245. Still excellent with the glove. Covering all sorts of territory in center field. In there, 1-2.
Bob, I don't think it's a coincidence that the 2 batters that he has walked are the 2 Marlins that have hit home runs. Gary Sheffield hit a home run to hurt them, and Charles Johnson as well. So he has been very careful with those 2 guys. He's gone right after everyone else.
And he walked them both with 2 out and nobody on.
Right.
2-2.
Well, these guys, they just keep feeding on those corners, and if they're outside or off the corner a little bit and an umpire rings you up, they just stay out there constantly. Joe, it's got to be aggravating as a hitter. I know it is. I mean, sitting back there as a catcher, you love it. As a hitter, you gotta really hate it. Catchers always turn around and tell the umpire that was a good pitch, nice call. A lot of guys wouldn't have called that.
2-2 pitch. Softly into center field, but it'll drop in front of Javier. 2 on with 2 out. That's the first hit of the night for Florida.
Well, he tried to jam Devon White, and the fastball does not get in enough. He fights it off and hits a little soft liner into center field. And the Marlins have runners at first and second with 2 down.
And the only patch of sunlight that remains on the field is out by the warning track in the right field corner. So Glenn Allen Hill and Gary Sheffield escaped without any misadventures in the first couple of innings. The pitcher, Alex Fernandez. A strike from his former teammate. Finishing up his first year having to swing the bat in the National League. 0-2. This is the rotation the Chicago White Sox had in the early 90s. Jack McDowell, Alex Fernandez, Wilson Alvarez, and an emerging Jason Beret. That was pretty good. Off the outside corner, 1-2. That's what they did in the division winning season. And Roberto Hernandez, who is also here now, working in the Giants pen, saved 39. Outfield at just about little league depth against Fernandez. Overmatched and down on strikes. Second strikeout for Alvarez. Marlins leave a couple. No score after 1.5. Oakland Bay Bridge in the foreground. Gorgeous evening in the Bay Area, but the wind really whipping around what used to be Candlestick and now is 3Com Park. Although the distance between here and the proposed new stadium, actually not proposed, it'll be a reality soon. They'll break ground on it before the end of the year, and it should be ready for opening day, year 2000, in the China Basin. The new Pacific Ballpark won't be all that far away, but because of its location, the wind and the other conditions that sometimes made it difficult to play here and frankly uncomfortable to watch a game here sometimes, they won't exist in the new location.
Yeah, it's more the wind, I think, Bob, that makes you uncomfortable here rather than just the cold weather.
Glenn Allen Hill against Alex Fernandez. Ball 1 to him as we move to the bottom half of the second. No score. Hill hit .261 for the year, had 11 home runs, very effective as a pinch hitter, but pressed into action tonight because Darrell Hamilton is hurt and Javier moves from right field to center, and Hill comes off the bench to start in right. Rolled foul, 1-2. He'll be followed by Vizcaíno and Brian Johnson.
Dusty Baker told us that depending on how far this series does go, that Darrell Hamilton may not be available for any of them.
This is 2-2. If the Giants win tonight and force Game 4 tomorrow, Dusty Baker will go with 41-year-old Danny Darwin, 20-year veteran. He'll actually be 42 in a few weeks. In the air to center field, Devon White camped under it. One gone in the second. John Smoltz is now 10-2 in postseason, Division Series, LCS, and World Series play. That score is wrong. It's backwards. The Braves won the game 4-1, not the Astros. The Braves win 4-1. Now here's what's coming up. Tomorrow on Fox, Seattle is at Baltimore. They're down 0-2, speaking of the Mariners. We'll be in Cleveland by tomorrow night. Yankees and Indians tied at a game apiece. We get word that David Cone with the tender shoulder is out. He can't pitch Game 4. Doc Gooden will pitch for the Yankees on Sunday in Cleveland in Game 4. Vizcaíno fouls it off, 1-1.
Doc Gooden has an excellent record against the Cleveland Indians, so maybe they're not losing as much as they think when they put Doc in there to replace David Cone.
They're hoping that Cone is available later in the postseason if the Yankees get past Cleveland, but he definitely will not pitch in Game 4.
Alan, watching him work the other night, it just didn't look like the David Cone that we've seen from time to time. I mean, velocity-wise, he looked like he was all right, Joe. His location was very bad.
Tomorrow night on NBC, Charles Nagy for the Indians and David Wells for the Yanks. One and two to the switch-hitting Vizcaíno. He's been with the Cubs, the Mets, the Indians, now the Giants. Hit .266 for the year. 2-2. Through the middle and off the leg of Fernandez, and it rolls right to Abbott. So score at 1-4-3.
That's what happens when things aren't going well for you. Vizcaíno 1 for 7.
This would be for the sake of those viewers watching in various establishments where the audio is not available. This would be the correct score, as we told you earlier. Braves 4, Astros 1. Smoltz the winner on a 3-hitter. Braves move on. Now, if the Marlins win this series, which they lead 2-0, then Atlanta opens at home. But if the Giants come back and win, the series opens Tuesday here in San Francisco.
And we'll be here.
Or there.
Or there.
That's very reassuring to the American public here.
Well, don't forget, WW.
Whatever. 0-2 to Brian
Whatever,
Johnson.
yeah. Check your local listings.
2 out, nobody on. And how would you call that one, Uke?
Just a bit outside.
Thank you. It's now an official series.
How about that kick save by Fernandez? 1-4-3.
Foul to the seats by the former Stanford quarterback Brian Johnson, who was with the Padres in the playoffs a year ago, then dealt to Detroit. Giants pick him up at midseason, and in September he hit 2 game-winning home runs, including a 12th inning shot here against the Dodgers. Ooh, change-up got him. Second strikeout for Fernandez. No score after 2.
And let's take a look at Alex Fernandez pitching to Brian Johnson. Fastball on the outside corner. Fastball right by him. Slider away. Another fastball that he fouls. Now here's the pitch. A change-up curveball right on the outside corner. And it's 77 miles an hour and a 9-inch break. It started up and broke down 9 inches and broke away 2 inches. That's very tough to handle. Look at this pitch. Beautiful, slow change-up curveball.
Top of the order in the top of the 3rd. And Kurt Abbott swings and misses. This is the first postseason game in this park since the Earthquake World Series of 1989.
Don't remind me, I was standing down there.
Hey, you were standing next to Willie Mays when the ground began to shake.
Yeah.
Both of you guys were here, weren't you?
I was in the ballpark, yeah. Not for long. Alvarez ahead of Abbott 0-2. At third base, it comes up for Miller. 1 out.
So far in this ball game, Alvarez has showed why he's a big game pitcher. He has not made any mistakes. The breaking balls are all down and away from the right-handed hitters. Fastballs, when he misses away. He's not missing toward the middle of the plate. And that's what you have to guard against. You have to make sure that your mistakes do not cost you a lot. And that's what he's doing so far.
4 ground outs already, Joe, for Wilson Alvarez tonight.
And a called strike to Renteria. Alvarez is a free agent at the end of the year. Part of the reason why the White Sox parted with him. He lives in Sarasota, and there's some thought that if the new Tampa Bay Devil Rays are interested in him, he'd be interested in them. 0-2.
Well, he's going to have to find out if they're going to be in any league yet or not.
I understand the most recent realignment plan has the Devil Rays in the same division as the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Now, wait a minute. Don't be making fun now.
They just keep coming up with one great idea after another.
I'm not going to touch that.
Not me.
Alvarez was part of one of the most controversial deals in recent history at midseason. Danny Darwin, Roberto Hernandez, and Alvarez all shipped off to the Giants for a package of 6 minor leaguers. They check down at first base. Goodbye. Steve Ripley punches him out. 3rd strikeout for Alvarez.
Here's that last breaking ball. And the check swing by Renteria. Here it is. That was close. That was pretty close. Get another angle, another look. You know what? We even got another one.
And he strikes out all 3 times.
All 3 times. You believe that? Yeah, I guess he did. Get our angle up here. Sometimes it doesn't look like the bat crosses the plate, but that guy at first base has the better angle, or at third for a left-handed batter.
Sheffield again bats with 2 out and nobody on. Alvarez very careful with him in the identical situation in the first. hear the wind whistling through our microphones. It's picking up here at 3Com Park. The 2-0 pitch to Sheffield. Foul back toward us, right into the booth, and Euchre tries to make the play. And it will come as no surprise to those of you familiar with his career that it bounded off his chest.
No, it hit hit right here. Yeah.
You had a clean shot at it. Euchre, you had a clean shot at the ball.
There is no such thing as a clean shot when I'm behind the plate. Look at this right there. See how far that thing bounced?
Go figure.
I mean, it hit right over here. It hit against the wall over here.
I thought it was reachable myself. 2-2.
For those people who are reachable idiots, it's reachable. No chance for this boy.
Were you shaken up on the play, though?
No, not at all. Are you kidding?
That's a relief.
Put me in, coach.
The 2-2 pitch. Reaches for it. Hops it wide of first. Snow over near the railing. Reaching over and making a fine play. Down go the Marlins in order in the third.
Welcome back to San Francisco. I'm Jim Gray. I'm now joined by one of the greatest players in the history of baseball, Willie Mays, the former Giant. Willie, it was 46 years ago when Bobby Thompson hit that home run off Ralph Barranca to beat the Dodgers, and you were on deck. What do you remember of that?
I was on deck. What I remember is that I thought Leo was going to pinch it for me, and I talked to Leo many times about it, and what he said, well, I don't think I would. But knowing Leo, he wanted to win the ball game, and I think he would have. That was my memory there.
Seemed like 46 years ago to you?
I didn't even know I was that old. Tell the truth, but I think you're right. I'm 66 right now, which I'm trying to get further.
Realignment. What are your thoughts on the current state of baseball and realignment?
Realignment, I don't know too much about it, Jim. I think they are trying to work on it right now. I don't even know how it would work, to tell the truth, because I'm not involved in the committees and things like that. But right now, baseball is on the way back up, so I don't see if you should mess with it a little too much. It looks like when we played the different clubs in the American League, we drew very well. So I don't know. It might work. I don't know.
Willie, it's great to see you. You look great.
It will take long enough. I don't know.
Let's send it back upstairs to Bob Costas.
What did he say? It took long enough to look this great?
Yeah.
What a guy, man. What a player. What a guy.
What did he say? Just don't mess with it.
That's right. Don't mess with it.
The 3-1 pitch to Alvarez, and now
another
full
chance.
count.
Where is it?
Now that one's down the left field line.
Okay,
you had your chance.
No, I didn't have a chance at that. Now, don't be...
E2. That's what I'm thinking.
No, it was E-tie. Much hurt. E-tie. E-tie.
Alvarez hits one into left center field. White and Alou, and it's Moises for the catch. Let's go back to this play, which concluded the top half of the third. J.T. Snow leaning over to make the play. There are a lot of good defensive first basemen in the National League. The Big Cat, Andres Galarraga, Mark Grace, Rico Brogna. But most people think that the Gold Glove will be captured by J.T. Snow, his first in the National League. He took 2 in the American League while with the Angels, leaning over the photographers to make the play. There he is, son of the former Notre Dame and Ram wide receiver Jack Snow. Breaking ball fouled off by Javier.
I'll tell you one thing, it's better to win one than to try to use one. Ball didn't stand there very well.
Hit to the right side and scooped up by Abbott. 2 quick outs in the bottom of the third. Guys, listen to this. Players, 3 ex-cons working for the FBI.
We're not cops, not robbers.
We're the good guys.
Okay.
Players premieres in 2 weeks on NBC Friday.
Is that the end of it? For you?
Apparently. Ball 1 to Miller. You know, I love it when ex-cons go to work for the FBI.
Isn't it something?
Right there, you got a premise that grabs me. Lined is short and gloved by Renteria, who barely has to move. 1, 2, 3 in the Giant third. Nobody's broken through yet. Back after this from your local station. On to the fourth in San Francisco. Marlins have 1 hit. Giants have 2. Nobody on the scoreboard yet. Bonilla, Alou, and Conine to face Wilson Alvarez. High for a ball. Bonilla didn't like DHing, which is what Davey Johnson had him doing in Baltimore. There have been times, 0-2, check it 1-1, where in both right field and at third base, there have been times when Bonilla was something of a liability, but he's played a good third base of late for the Marlins.
Well, he's worked hard on his defense, and truthfully, when he was DH and he didn't hit as well for Baltimore, when he played the field, he hit very well. So he proved that he was better off in the field.
Yeah, he was mad. He was mad as a DH, Joe, and when he did get an opportunity to play defensively, he was still hot about it. He told Davey Johnson that, you know, he was an everyday player, and he probably is, and he's proven that here with Florida. But they got along all right. Hey, if you don't argue with a manager once in a while, you're not worth your salt, you know.
A ball and 2 strikes. Got him looking.
That's the pitch he was trying to throw in the first inning, trying to paint the outside corner with a fastball. And Alvarez perfectly placed over the outside corner. Right there, Brian Johnson catches it. Let's take a look on the computer. 93 miles an hour. It moves down a little bit, and it moved away toward the outside corner 2 inches. And there you see Brian Johnson doesn't do much with it, just makes the catch. Strike 3.
I'll tell you, if he's painting, that's an awful big brush. I'll tell you that. It really is. I mean, come on.
A big brush, huh?
He's using a roller, Duke.
It's more than a roller if you take a look at that last one.
1-0 pitch to Alou. That's out of play.
Dusty Baker has said that the 2 best fastball hitters he thinks in the whole world are Gary Sheffield and Moises Alou. And you can see that they're giving them a steady diet of off-speed pitches and fastballs away.
Here's the way he put it. He said, I don't care if they send it up there with a bazooka. They can turn on it.
And he's probably right.
1-1 pitch. A ball and 2 strikes. Alou, an all-star with the Expos. But as everybody knows, in the present financial realities of baseball, the Expos are one of those teams that simply can't hang on to superstars. So they continue to develop them. They watch them perform in Montreal in the early stages of their careers. And then, either just before they're eligible for arbitration or free agency, they trade them, or they watch them walk away on them. And that's the sad reality. Their fans know it. Their front office knows it. Felipe Alou, one of the game's great managers, knows it. And he advised his own son, you've got to go where they can take care of you. That was Florida in this case. 2-2. The Marlins have built a team with a very strong Latin American flavor. Renteria, Alou, Castillo, Livan Hernandez, the Cuban defector, tonight's starter Alex Fernandez, and others. And of course, there's a large Hispanic population in southern Florida. Here it comes on 2-2.
Saw Johnson stick down that breaking ball sign, and here's the curveball to Alou, and he hit it right off his foot. He missed the shin guard that's between his knee and ankle. A lot of good at hitting there.
2-2 pitch again. Lined and in there for extra bases. Alou around first as Bonds digs it out of the corner. And it's a 1-out double. So Moises Alou, whose 9th inning hit won game 2, connects for extra bases here.
There it is. It was upstairs about thigh high, and he lines a double into the corner and left. Here it is one more time. That pitch is up about thigh high, and he got out in front of it and picks up the double.
It's a breaking ball.
Breaking ball. Looked like a slider, Joe. You see a lot of his dad in him? I do.
Yes, yes.
Hitting wise, I mean, the stance, that stiff stance.
Yeah, they're not relaxed at the plate. His father wasn't.
He was something. Felipe.
Conine grounded out to third his first time up. Ball 1 to him. Felipe's best years, of course, right here with the Giants. A lineup that included Mays and McCovey and Cepeda, Jim Ray Hart,
Jesus, Matty.
There were a handful of times when they comprised the entire outfield.
They did.
Not too often with Willie Mays around.
No.
At least a few times when Matty, Jesus, and Felipe were the guys.
Absolutely.
On 1-0. Conine lays off. If the Marlins win a game here in San Francisco and move on, although the Braves would be favored, the Marlins would not be intimidated. They beat Atlanta 8 out of 12 this year.
It was funny, Bob, when we were talking to Jim Leland before the game. He said, hey, look, we're no Atlanta. We're no Atlanta, but we're here. But yet they beat the Braves and handle them very well. He said, we're not going to match up with Atlanta pitching-wise. But certainly they've got the bats. But, I mean, how many clubs can match up with Atlanta?
When it comes to depth of starting pitching, nobody. On 3-0, Conine takes a strike. In interleague play, Florida swept 3 from Baltimore. So against the best teams, they've certainly acquitted themselves well.
Baltimore swept Atlanta. They went to Atlanta. So how do you figure that?
I say stop interleague play.
The 3-1 pitch. Rolled to short. They'll play to third. And they got him there. Alou breaks from second rather, on a ground ball to the left side. And Vizcaíno alertly takes it to Miller to get him.
The rule of thumb is if the ball's hit in front of you, you do not go. This ball is clearly in front of Moises Alou. So Vizcaíno and Miller make the play, and he's out easily. You only go to third if the ball's hit behind you. Ball's right in front of you, you should never go. It's a big mistake because you're already in scoring position, and you take yourself out of scoring position and leave a runner at first. Just a good job there by Vizcaíno and Miller.
What could Alou have been thinking? Or not thinking?
Now I understand that better.
0-1 to Johnson. Conine now the runner at first with 2 out.
Sometimes at the crack of the bat, the ball is hit, and you're moving off the bag, getting to your lead. I know it's a bad move. It is a bad move, but sometimes you can't stop yourself. You take that extra 2 steps. You're better off trying to go to third then instead of going back to second.
But it's very simple. If the ball is hit in front of you, you do not go. I mean, that's the way you have to think about it before the play happens. If the ball's in front of me, I'm not going.
And Johnson steps out. You figure Felipe Alou watching this on television, perhaps back home in the Dominican Republic, and saying, didn't we go over that 1,000 times in spring training? Vizcaíno goes the short way for the force to Kent covering, and that wraps it up in the 4th. To the bottom half, still no score.
NBC's coverage of tonight's Division Series game is brought to you by MCI. Is this a great time or what? By Nissan, who reminds you that life is a journey. Enjoy the ride. By Sun America, the retirement specialist. And by Domino's Pizza. For hot and wow, call Domino's now.
Another shot from the Goodyear Blimp Eagle. We said before they've been covering major sports events for 72 years. Leads me to believe they were at the 1925 World Series between the Senators and Pirates. Barry Bonds starts it off. The 3, 4, and 5 hitters. Bonds, Kent, and Snow looking to break through in the 4th. One and one. Look at the infield. Only the third baseman Bonilla remains on the left side, and he's in the shortstop's position.
There's 1, 2, and 3 on the left side, on the right side.
And he pokes it to the left side, but right at his former teammate Bonilla. Low throw, but it's scooped up by Conine.
Isn't that amazing? The only spot there's a player, and he hits it right at him. If he has to move to his left or right, Barry would have beaten it out.
How do you score that? 5-3 or 6-3?
Plus, that's a tougher play for Bonilla than you realize. He's not used to throwing from that position.
Here it is one more time. Bonds with a bullet on the ground to what would be the shortstop position. You saw Bonilla with a little trouble picking it up.
And a little trouble getting it there.
Yep.
That brings up Kent. Ball 1 to him. So the old Ted Williams style shift.
Now they do it on so many guys in baseball today. Guys like Frank Thomas, another guy. They play 4 guys or 3 guys on one side with 1 guy on the other side of the infield with Frank Thomas too. There's a number of guys.
Used to occasionally do it here against Willie McCovey. Bonds tried to cross them up and foil their plan.
It didn't help you a lot against McCovey though. When he hit the ball so hard that it would buy anyway.
I think it's so much of a challenge to those guys when you pull that overshift on them. They still want to drive a ball by you. They don't want to take a ball to the opposite field. I mean, unless it's game winning, and then they don't do it.
In the air to deep center. Devon White going back to the track, to the wall. It's gone. When that ball left the bat, White was pretty sure he had a play on it. But Cantu hit 29 during the regular year. Gives the Giants the early lead at 1-0.
Bob, we've talked about the fact that the wind swirls here. This pitch is a breaking ball that doesn't get out there far enough. He gets enough of it straight away center field. Now the wind picks up, and all of a sudden it pushes it out towards center field. Let's take a look at this pitch. It's supposed to be a ball away, and you see he gets the middle of the plate. And Jeff Kent does what he does best, and that's hit the ball out of the ballpark and drive in runs.
It looked like Kent knew that ball was gone, Joe, when he hit it the way he was trotting when he left the batter's box.
Well, he's the only one that knew it.
You're right. It really started to carry.
And now Fernandez behind on the scoreboard, 1-0. Behind in the count to Snow, 2-0. Lined up the middle, a base hit.
There's that last fastball, or if it was a fastball, that was hit to dead center by Kent. Devon White, when he took off, looked like he had a shot at the ball, but it just kept carrying. And as Joe said, that wind now, get a shot of the flags blowing out, swirling. You're right.
And that's just the opposite of what happened to Bobby Bonilla in the first inning. He hit a ball very well to left field, and the wind blew it in and knocked it down.
Swing and a miss by Glenn Allen Hill. So after Bonds grounds out to open the inning, Kent homers to straightaway center. Snow whistles one into center for a single. 1 out, 1 on, and 1 in. Johnson prevents a wild pitch. Fernandez threw 9 of them this year. How good is this guy? A lot of people would have said before Johnson came along, no contest, Pudge Rodriguez, best in baseball defensively behind the plate. But now there's an argument.
Yeah, you're right. You know, for those of us who work the American League so much and watch Pudge Rodriguez and watched him throughout his career, yeah, you could say that. But in watching Charles Johnson over the last couple of years, this guy is really something. I mean, he really is, Bob. You know, the fact that he's gone this long without an error is totally unbelievable. The fact that he throws people out the way that he does is unbelievable. And he's a good receiver.
Double play ball. 1 and 2. Renteria, Abbott, and Conine turn it over. The Giants get ahead on the home run by Kent. 1-0 after 4. Back in San Francisco, Bob Uecker, Joe Morgan, along with Bob Costas. Joe, we were talking about the defensive prowess of Charles Johnson just before the break. One measure of it, he threw out nearly 50% of would-be base stealers. The 2 top base stealers in the National League, Deion Sanders of Cincinnati and Tony Womack of the Pirates, barely tested him. Sanders was 0 for 1 against him, and Womack never ran against him. Now, some of that has to do with game situations and how well the pitchers hold a guy on, but still, these are guys paid to steal bases, at least in part, and they would not challenge Charles Johnson.
And you're right, but that's, as you said, that's only one part of his game. The other part is his father used to take him out back, put his shin guards on, his catching gear, and he'd bounce balls in front of him, threw him 100 balls at a time bouncing in front of him, and they were play for Cokes.
Devon White, as we start the 5th, pops one into foul ground. Kent and Snow in pursuit, and Snow leaning over, but has not quite enough room to make a play.
Well, the fans are booing because they felt like the other fans interfered, but JT Snow running hard to get to the spot. The auxiliary box is there. No one hindered him. That was going to be a tough play.
Oh, 0-2 to White, who singled his first time up. Wind continuing to swirl all over this ballpark. Into center field, right center field. Javier in pursuit, and he makes the play. One more look at the previous play, and even had the fan with the glove not reached up, and I believe he catches it cleanly, you can see that Snow had no chance. It was out of his reach.
And that guy's proud anyway.
Yes, he gets to celebrate.
But I made the catch.
The pitcher Fernandez struck out his first time. One and one. What the Giants are trying to do has been accomplished before. As recently as '95, when Seattle came back against the Yankees in the first round, down 0-2. A ball and 2 strikes. In 1984 in the NLCS, the Padres did it. Milwaukee did it against the Angels in '82. And the Dodgers in the split season, where they had an extra round of playoffs even before the advent of the wild card because of the strike in '81. The Dodgers did it against the Astros. San Diego did it, breaking the hearts of Cub fans all around the country after the Cubs had won the first 2 at Wrigley Field. In every case, the team that came back from 0-2 came home for the next 3 games, as the Giants are doing here.
And Dusty Baker, he's always thinking, always trying to figure out how to get the upper hand.
Fouled away, and it holds at 2-2. Spent some time with Dusty in his office before the game. Pictures of Willie Mays and Hank Aaron up on the walls, along with B.B. King and Miles Davis. Plus, the reading matter was interesting. The Art of War by Sun Tzu. Full count now, not what Alvarez had in mind against Fernandez. Classic guide to strategy, The Art of War. The first coach or manager I was ever aware of relying on The Art of War as a guide was Pat Riley. And Alvarez walks Alex Fernandez with 1 out.
Johnny Cash came out with a similar thing, a boy named Sue. That's Sun Tzu right there.
Well, there's an interesting point. NBC's coverage of the playoffs continues tomorrow night. 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific. That would be Game 3 of the American League Division Series. Bernie Williams and the Yankees, David Justice and Cleveland. Series tied at a game apiece. Both teams with comebacks. Indians jumped on the Yanks in Game 1, but the Yankees roared back. Scenario reversed in Game 2, so they split 2 in the Bronx and move on to Cleveland for Games 3, 4, and 5 if necessary. Wells against Nagy in Game 3. But as we told you earlier, David Cohn's shoulder is bothering him. He's not necessarily out of the postseason, but he can't start Game 4, and Dwight Gooden will at Jacobs Field. Kurt Abbott, the hitter. Fernandez has donned the warm-up jacket at first. And ball 1 from Alvarez. Well, here's a guy, Fernandez, who has barely swung a bat in anger in his entire big league career. And Alvarez, with a 1-0 lead, 1 out, nobody on, walks him. They check down at first base, and no this time.
At times, Alvarez has been accused of losing his concentration out there, and he did have Fernandez 1 ball and 2 strikes, and he ended up walking him. So sometimes they say he does go into mental lapses out there, and maybe that's why Johnson is going out to talk to him. Ozzie Guillen in Chicago would always make sure he went in when he felt like Alvarez was starting to lose his concentration.
Seems funny sometimes, Joe, that a pitcher doesn't take a ball with a pitcher up there hitting. I mean, take 3 and throw him right down the pipe. I mean, a guy leading off an inning, and if he hits you then or reaches then, I mean, it's a different story instead of a base on balls. But to take the ball, I mean, just bam, bam, get your best stuff and right down the middle.
But nothing bothers a pitcher more than having the opposing pitcher get a base hit, and that's part of the problem right there.
It would bother me a little more walking him, you'd think.
I agree.
You know.
Yeah, make him prove he can get a base hit. 2-2 to Abbott, who has grounded out twice. The Giants took 6 of 11 from Florida during the regular season, including a 3-game sweep here in April. So the season series was close. The 2 games in Florida could not have been any closer to begin this series. Each won by a run by the Marlins, each time in the bottom of the 9th. It gets by Alvarez and into center field for a base hit. So the Marlins, trailing by 1, have 2 on with 1 out.
Alvarez is not a power pitcher, so he usually ends up in pretty good fielding position. He's in good position here. Ball hit right back to him, but he can't get his glove down in time, and it goes into center field for a base hit. A lot of left-handers fall off to the third base side. He does not do that. He stays pretty squared up on the mound, but his reflexes aren't quick enough to come up with that one.
So Renteria to the plate and Sheffield to the on-deck circle. Alvarez starts him with a strike. Bouncing ball, second base. Kent, Vizcaíno. They turn it over. And did they ever need it? Otherwise, Sheffield would have batted with men on base.
And this is a great double play. You see the pressure put on Vizcaino, but he throws the first, gets a little help from J.T. Snow. He stretches out towards second and comes across. Now watch the runner. He goes out of the line, but all you have to do is be able to touch the bag with your hand anywhere in your slide. So it's a legal slide. Nice play. And Johnny B, Dusty Baker's really excited. Look at him. He can't tell yet. Now they got it. And that's him. That's Johnny Baker.
And Vizcaino will start it. Bottom of the order in the bottom of the fifth. Johnson and Alvarez to follow. Here's a ball well hit to right. This ball sends Sheffield almost to the fence for the catch. In between the Mays and Marichal signs. Vizcaino hit only 5 home runs, but you never know. The way the wind is swirling here, if it gets up in a gust, it could have been pushed out.
It's a high fastball, and Vizcaino jumped all over it. And again, this ball was hit well. Sheffield back near the wall, now starts to settle in and makes the catch. I'll tell you what, when he hit it, I thought it was going. I did.
I agree. I thought it was going too.
Well, there was a look of anxiety on Alex Fernandez's face as he turned to watch its flight. Johnson called out on strikes his first time up. 1-1 to him. Another chance for Sheffield. 2 out in the fifth. Here's Sunday's lineup on NBC. First on Dateline Sunday, a massive volcano erupts, and one man risks just about everything to get it all on tape. Then an interesting development in men behaving badly, plus Jenny McCarthy with her new show, Jenny, followed by an NBC original action movie, 5 Desperate Hours, which is the story of a doubleheader Bob Uecker had to catch one Sunday in Philadelphia. That's all after an NFL doubleheader here on NBC.
Could be the story of our flight to Cleveland tonight, too.
0-1 to Alvarez. Giants lead it 1-0 as they bat in the bottom half of the fifth. You mentioned his given name is Johnny B. Baker, but the B is like the S in Harry S. Truman. I asked him, it doesn't stand for anything. It's just an initial. It doesn't stand for Bill or Bob or Bart or Boris or anything. Just B. These are the kind of things you need to know. The 1-2 pitch. Hit toward the hole, and slowly Renteria throws on the run, and Conine can't handle it. Alvarez could have been clocked with a sundial on his way down to first, so they really had a good chance to get him. And now, much to his surprise, he must run the bases.
Here it is one more time. That's a little running fastball from Fernandez. And there you see Wilson Alvarez, and he knows he's got it beat. That's why he pulled up. He said, hey, Edgar, try and throw me out, baby.
He looks like a guy in a sack race.
Oh, really? You tell him that tonight after the game.
Is he on the charter, too? They charge Renteria with an error.
Well, he overestimated the speed of Alvarez. That's why he got the error. He could have stopped, straightened up, and made a good throw.
Conine plays behind him at first, evidently discounting the possibility of a stolen base.
He could have done jumping jacks on the way down there and still beat it. Conine had a chance to come off the bag and catch the ball and then tag it.
The first base coach down there, who you saw a moment ago, is Carlos Alfonso. Sonny Jackson on the lines at third for Dusty Baker. Just foul.
Well, it's going to take something like that before they can get Alvarez home. They're not going to be able to do it with 2 singles. That might have been a double, and then you could follow with a single.
They might not be able to do it with 2 doubles. Alvarez familiarizing himself with the location of the bases. Did he go? Nope. Two and two with 2 out. Alvarez aboard on an error. Giants leading 1-0 in the last of the 5th. They got their run in the 4th on a homer to straightaway center field by Jeff Kent. Check swing, roller, foul. Javier is 0 for 2. Fouls another one away. The Giants' slogan all year long has been anything can happen. They had 46 come from behind wins, most in the league. They led the division by 6 at the break, traded for reinforcements in that big swap with the White Sox, faltered in September. The Dodgers overtook them. Then they rallied and caught the Dodgers and passed them to win the division. Hit softly to short, and Renteria tucks it away to end the inning. No runs, no hits, an error. A man is left. Alvarez will doff the jacket and go back to the mound when we come back.
Welcome back to San Francisco. I'm Jim Gray. I'm now joined by the owner of the Marlins, Wayne Huizenga. Wayne, you've announced that the team is for sale, but with all the success here in the playoffs, might you reconsider?
Well, it's something, we don't want to sell. But for the good of the Marlins and for good of the South Florida fans, we think the reason we should sell is to remove ourselves from the process. And hopefully, by removing ourselves from the process, then South Florida may build a new baseball park. But if I'm the owner, they will not build a new baseball park.
Now, Wayne, you are also the owner of the Dolphins. Big game on NBC this Sunday. The Dolphins are at home against Kansas City. A lot of rumors about Dan Marino. Will Dan Marino stay with the Dolphins and finish his career in a Dolphin uniform?
I believe absolutely he will. As I landed here today, someone told me they heard a rumor. I don't believe it. Dan's a Dolphin, and I think he always will be.
Maybe you can get him to pitch game 4.
That'd be pretty good. I think he could do it, too.
Looks like we're headed that direction. Back to you, Bob.
All right, Jim, and on the first pitch of the 6th inning, Gary Sheffield hops to Brian Johnson out in front of the plate. So the Marlins' most dangerous hitter is disposed of quickly. He is walked, fouled out, and just popped out. In fact, if there is a game 4, the Marlins starter will be left-hander Tony Saunders, who pronounced himself shocked by his selection.
The reason for that is Jim Leland wants to throw left-handers against the Giants. He figures that will take maybe J.T. Snow out of the lineup. Gives him a better chance against Barry Bonds. He thinks they're not as difficult against left-handed pitching as they are against right-handed pitching.
A ball and a strike to Bonilla. A lot of people thought, as we look at Leland, that it would be Livan Hernandez, the terrific, it's not even a prospect anymore. You can't call him a prospect. He won his first 9 big league decisions, the Cuban defector. But instead, they're using him out of the bullpen, and he pitched very effectively for 4 innings in game 2. Saunders had a sub-500 record. But Leland likes the idea of a left-hander against the Giants, as you said. Bouncer to Kent. And Bonilla's 0 for 3.
I tell you, Wilson Alvarez is really making some outstanding pitches here now. That little running fastball down low and away. He's not giving these big guys anything that they can pull and hit him deep with. Here's Moises Alou, first ball hitter, dead first fastball hitter. Chase high fastballs, high and away, throw him breaking balls. He'll chase stuff down in the dirt. Last time up, he hit the double on what appeared to be a slider about thigh high.
One of 3 Marlin hits off Alvarez. Giants have 4 against Alex Fernandez, but one of them was a Jeff Kent home run.
There's a little byplay going on here. Alvarez was upset with Alou the last time he batted because he stepped out a couple of times. He even broke a bat, but he was a little bit impatient with Alou getting back into the batter's box. And they followed the scouting report. This is Alou's third at bat, and each time they started him off with an off-speed pitch. They have not given him a first pitch fastball.
2-0. I thought it was interesting the way they worked to Sheffield. The first pitch he saw that was anywhere close, he took a big rip at and popped up. His previous time out on a 2-2 pitch, he fouled out swinging at a pitch outside the strike zone, but it was close enough, and he was getting frustrated, I believe, with the way the Giants had been pitching around him.
And that's one of the reasons that he got off to such a slow start this year. Teams were not giving in to him, not giving him a lot of pitches to hit. They were walking him in situations where a walk was not called for, so finally he got a little impatient and started going out of the strike zone.
On 2-1, foul ball.
You know, this is a different ball game too, Joe. I think you might see Sheffield being a little more patient. But with the Giants leading 1-0 and Sheffield, a guy who can tie the game or put you out front with somebody on, he's up there trying to hack. He's trying to get him back to even.
Alvarez approaching the century mark here in the 6th. A liner sent whistling through the middle.
There's that high fastball that he wants. Fastball up and out over the plate, and he hit a bullet right back through the middle.
A 2-out single, and Alou is 2 for 3.
Let's take a look at the sequence of pitches. You're going to see a changeup away, the first pitch, fastball away, another fastball away, another one away, and then he got a fastball up and out over the plate, and he lined it to center field for a base hit. One thing the computer will tell you is that the fastball up in the strike zone is always faster than the fastball down in the strike zone.
Alou stole 9 bases during the year. Alvarez against Conine, who's 0 for 2, but another throw over.
And if you're Brian Johnson, you like this. You want your pitcher to be aware that that runner's at first base. We mentioned that it maybe cost him the ball game in Florida the other day because Roberto Hernandez did not check Sheffield. He stole second and scored the winning run.
Alvarez consistently staying away from these guys that can really sting him. Nice running fastball that time. Down and away on Conine, about knee high, but off the outside corner.
The one thing with Alvarez, he's not just spotting it out there, Bob. It has some giddy up on it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even though that stolen base total is modest, with 2 out in a 1-run game, the possibility of his taking off increases, and Alvarez and the Giants are aware of that. Not going, high and outside.
He used a little slide step then, did not pick his leg up, but each time he's done that, it looks like he's not getting the pitch exactly where he wants.
To the plate, and again way high and outside.
This is the slide step. Well, this is his regular motion here where he picks his leg up and gives you the regular throw. That's his last pitch, but the pitch before, he doesn't lift his front leg. He just kind of slides it toward the plate. That's called a slide step.
Bouncing ball, Miller knocks it down, but they have no play beyond that. Deflected into the outfield, and runners are at first and second with 2 down.
There was a good example of the slide step right there, Joe, on a breaking ball that was hit off the glove of Miller at third by Conine. Watch this. There's the slide step that Joe was talking about right there on a breaking ball that Conine hit sharply to Miller's left. He got a glove on, can't hang on. Watch this.
So with 2 outs, singles by Alou and Conine give Charles Johnson a chance to do something for the Marlins. He's walked and grounded out. His 1 hit in the series was a home run.
Remember earlier tonight when we talked to Jimmy Leland about Charles Johnson, he said this is the guy that really turned things around. He had a hot July and August, and that's what got the Marlins going. Plus what he does for you behind the plate.
2-0.
Alvarez making that conscious effort to stay away. You can get Johnson with breaking balls, but you better not hang one. Not a good average with runners in scoring position.
Three balls, no strikes. Devon White next.
You got to let him go here, don't you? 3-0, down by a run.
You might let a veteran hitter hit in this situation, Bob. I'm not so sure he will let a guy that's only been in the big leagues 2 years do it, but Jim Leland kind of lets the chips fly sometimes.
Called strike, appeared to be taking all the way.
Bobby Bonilla, Felipe, Moises Alou, Gary Sheffield, you let those guys go, but he's only been in the big leagues a couple of years. Kind of hard to let him swing in that situation. He may swing at anything.
The 3-1 full count. So Alou from second and Conine from first will be off.
Now they're on their feet here, 62,000 plus at Candlestick Park.
Alvarez working with only the slimmest of margins, leading 1-0. And Johnson out to talk with him.
It's a good idea here, Bob, because this is a big pitch in this ball game. You want to make sure that you're on the same wavelength. You want to know what the scouting report said. You want to make sure that you feel comfortable trying to get the ball low and away. Or if you want to come inside, you have to make sure that this is the pitch I want to throw in this game-winning situation, because that's what it could be.
Joe Morgan, Bob Uecker, Bob Costas in San Francisco, where Jim Leland's Marlins are trying to wrap it up and Dusty Baker's Giants are trying to stay alive. The Braves await the winner in the National League Championship Series. Marlins lead this division series 2-0. There go the runners, and now the bases are loaded for Devon White.
This is that last pitch sequence on Charles Johnson. Fastball away again. And then right back inside with a fastball. There's the strike on the outside corner. Here's the swing and a foul on a fastball, and then missing outside to walking. There you see what he's trying to do with Johnson. All heaters in the 90s, high 80s, and that last fastball high and away to walking.
Dusty Baker told us an interesting story about a visit he took to the mound with Wilson Alvarez earlier this season in a tough situation like this, a game they had to win, and he asked him, how do you feel? And he said he feels okay, and Dusty said that wasn't exactly what he wanted to hear. And he looked him in the eyes again, and Wilson Alvarez says, if we're going to lose it, I want to be the one to lose it. And that's exactly what Dusty Baker wanted to hear, so he left him in the ball game, and he must have told him what he wanted to hear this time.
Yeah, he thought about taking him out of that game, Joe. He was walking out there because he didn't look like he had it. But his last question, how do you feel? When he said, I want to stay in here, I want to lose it. If we're going to lose it, I'm going to lose it, like you said. That's when Baker said, go get him.
Now they're beginning to stir the Giant bullpen, but it's Alvarez and White right now. Ball one to the veteran switch hitter, who is singled and flied out. He has 6 career grand slams. The former Indian Julian Tavares gets up. Went to the World Series with them in '95. In there, 1-1. 2 balls and a strike. As that one almost got White on the ankle.
This is a low inside breaking ball and almost nailed him. White just avoiding that curveball. Low and inside, almost nailed him.
Well, he's worked himself into a situation now where he's got to come with the fastball. He just has to make a good pitch. You do not want to get one and leave it up out over the middle of the plate.
On 2-1. In the air to left. Bonds goes back. Bonds to the track. This ball is a grand slam home run. With 2 out. Alou singles. Conine singles off Miller's glove. Johnson walks to load the bases, and Devon White, who hit just 188 from the right side this year with only 1 home run, launches a grand slam.
You talk about a ball right down Main Street. Here's a 2-1 fastball, and White really hit this ball. This ball was really hit hard. High and deep, and despite the wind, got out of here by plenty.
Well, he got himself into a fastball situation by trying to throw a 1-1 slider, and everybody in the ballpark knew a fastball was coming.
And Fernandez, the pitcher, fouls it back. Look at Dusty's reaction. Just lowers his head.
Well, he didn't have anybody ready in the bullpen anyway. I mean, he was going to stay with Alvarez no matter what. He just made a bad pitch right down the middle, 2-1, and Von White knocked it out of here.
Well, if Alvarez told him the same thing he had said on the previous occasion you described, let me be the guy to lose it, that just might be the case.
Well, it's understandable. He's only in the 6th inning here, and he's been throwing the ball hard. He's been pitching well. He's been hitting his spots until he gets into the 6th here. He gets the first 2 guys, gives up a couple of base hits, then walks Johnson, and then Devon White nailed it.
2-2. Of course, in that situation, there was never a question of his coming out of the game because Alvarez had just gotten up. So Baker wanted to talk to him about how to work against Devon White, but when he fell behind with the bases loaded, especially having walked the previous guy, his 4th walk of the game in just 5 2/3, you knew he had to bring one home. Now Fernandez hits this ball pretty well. Javier going back on it, and he's able to track it down with an over-the-shoulder lunging catch. Fernandez gave it a pretty good ride. The Marlins jump in front 4-1 on the grand salami from Devon White.
Well, this play seemed like it was routine, but the ball kept going away from Javier, and he ends up making an over-the-shoulder catch. Because this ball was hit pretty hard, and he was playing very shallow. He had to go a long way for it, and with that last lunge, he was able to come up with it. And you get a chance of look at Wilson Alvarez as he was in the dugout. He was throwing the ball well, and he made a couple of mistakes, actually, I thought, by walking Johnson, I'm sorry.
That's what loaded the bases, and then on a 2-1 pitch, Devon White made him pay. In the bottom of the 6th, Miller, Bonds, and Kent. One and one to the Giant third baseman, who had a first-game home run off Kevin Brown. Liner to right center. That'll get down for a hit. Huge turn by Miller. Then he retreats to first.
There's another high fastball off of Fernandez. Bill Miller jumped all over it. And we may see some action momentarily in the Florida bullpen. There's a high fastball. That's a letter high fastball. Miller jumping all over it. He takes that big turn and then wisely pulls up. Devon White taking his time, and you see a little divot come out from under the feet of Devon White. That's when Miller thought about it, but held.
Bonds has popped out and grounded out. Three-time National League Most Valuable Player when with the Pirates. No one in either league has ever won 4.
He had a pitch to hit there, but I think he overswung at it. That pitch was not where they wanted to get it. They were supposed to throw the ball away. He got him inside. You got to throw him hard stuff on the corner or off the plate inside, but if you miss just a little bit, he usually makes you pay. But you got to mix in some off-speed pitches, but don't throw him many curveballs.
Fernandez ahead of him 0-2. Didn't miss by much.
Take another look at that pitch. Wow.
Two and 2. Alvarez hoping his teammates can get him back into it. The Giants have now surrendered leads in all 3 games of this series. Full count.
Now this is how Alvarez got himself into trouble. Pitching from behind, and now Fernandez after the leadoff single by Miller. 3-2 on Bonds. And this crowd again getting to their feet here.
The runner goes. It's a called strike 3. The throw through, a double play. Talk about taking the life out of a ballpark.
Boy, what a pitch. What a pitch by Fernandez. This is a 3-2 curveball. Bonds took it. 3-2 breaking ball. Here's a throw by Johnson. This is a no contest. That's a no contest. There's Miller's break. Takes a token look. And the throw in plenty of time. Renteria waiting for him, and they nail it. Big double play.
Boy, this Charles Johnson,
boy, I'm telling you,
he's something. You.
Gosh, he can throw. He took that pitch, he caught it perfectly, and then came out firing. Joe, do you think Bonds was surprised by the 3-2 breaking ball? Looked like it, didn't it?
Well, I hope he was surprised because, wow, I mean, he took it. It was a good pitch. There was no doubt about the pitch. It was definitely a strike.
Just the 3rd strikeout. But it was huge on Barry Bonds. The 1-1 to Kent is a called strike. So Fernandez has struck out only 3. But in contrast to his former teammate Alvarez, who has walked 4, he hasn't issued a free pass yet. Two and 2 to Kent, who homered his last time up.
Look at those numbers. I mean, that's big game pitching right there for Alex Fernandez. They paid a lot of money to get him.
0-2 against the Giants during the regular season. But working on a good one here. Leland did something interesting with his rotation for this series. Fernandez is his second best pitcher after Kevin Brown. But he pitched Al Leiter in game 2 and Fernandez in the 3rd game.
Well, the reason for that is Al Leiter was 5-7 on the road and 6-2 at home, so he wanted Leiter to pitch there. And Alex Fernandez, even though he's from Florida, he likes to pitch in cold weather, so that doesn't bother him. And it's proven that Leland correct in both cases.
Full count. And Kent with a deep drive to left. His second homer of the night is soaring out of here. Well, like another Kent, he's turned into Superman tonight.
Well, he gets another high fastball. He does not want to walk him. That's Fernandez. He doesn't want to walk him. Throws him a high fastball, and Kent drills it over the left field wall. He hit one over the center field wall on the pitch a little bit farther away from him. You see how he turns on this one, and immediately he knows that it's a home run. And that shows how big a play that was with Barry Bonds. Not that he would have hit the home run, but it would have still been a lot of different situations.
You know, he still made the right pitch, Joe. With Snow coming up there next, you got to throw a fastball. I mean, he's run the count 3-2. If he does hit a home run, it's 1 run. If you put him on and you got Snow coming up there, it's a whole different story.
Quickly 0-2 to JT Snow. A lot of people will tell you, despite the presence of Barry Bonds, that this year at least, Jeff Kent has been the Giants MVP.
I don't think there's any doubt that Jeff Kent has been the most valuable player on this ball club. He's been the guy that has done it the entire year. Led the team in RBIs.
How big is that strikeout and throw by Charles Johnson now? Wow.
Jeff Kent is 3 for 3, a single and a pair of solo home runs. But Devon White's shot came with the bases loaded. 4-2 Florida in the 6th. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Snow. Glenn Allen Hill on deck.
There's the Marlins bullpen. Jay Powell and Dennis Cook, who did a great job the other day. Dennis Cook really did a heck of a job in that series in Florida.
This ball is hit softly to the left side, and the little liner is clutched by Bobby Bonilla. The Giants get one back on another homer from Kent. 4-2 after 6 by the Bay. Again, the Braves finished off the Astros. 4-1 was the final at the Astrodome. John Smoltz all the way on a 3-hitter. He's now 10-2 in his career in the postseason. If Florida wins this series, they'll begin the LCS at Atlanta. If the Giants win it, they'll be home at the start against the Braves. The 24-year-old native of the Dominican Republic, Julian Tavares, the former Indian, comes on. Acquired along with Vizcaíno and Kent, plus $1 million in the Matt Williams deal. Craig Counsell, the new second baseman for the Marlins, replaces Kurt Abbott in the field and in the batting order. He's in the leadoff spot now.
That was a defensive move. Counsell, a better defensive second baseman than Abbott. Abbott originally a shortstop.
Counsell, a 27-year-old rookie. Various injuries limited his time in the minor leagues the last couple of years. He's a Notre Dame product. Really impressed the Marlins and their fans with his grit, and has become more or less their regular second baseman. Bounces one to his counterpart Kent.
Notre Dame could have used him this year.
Wednesday, the premiere of Working.
I'm very happy to be here, Mr. Deal.
Call me Tim. Nobody around here pulls any power trips. Have a seat in the little chair.
Fred Savage in Working premieres Wednesday on NBC.
You know, talking with Jim Leland before the game about Craig Counsell, what kind of player is he? He said he's a blue-collar player. He's a player. That's all he is. He's a player. Goes out there and does the right things.
Renteria, first pitch swinging, sends Glenn Allen Hill back, not quite to the track for the catch. And Renteria is now wearing an 0 for 4 color. Now Sheffield bats with nobody on base, which has been the case every time. So he hasn't been up in an RBI spot yet tonight. Marlins leading at 4-2 as they bat on the top of the 7th. Two and 0. Almost got him.
Just that last fastball from Tavares almost nails Sheffield. I got to let him hit 3-0 here. I mean, this guy's got to hit 3-0 all the time for me.
Alvarez knows it and doesn't take any chances. That's the second time Sheffield has walked tonight.
And contrary to what a lot of people may believe, walk doesn't hurt your average, but it hurts you in the long run because you can't get any rhythm in a ball game. He walked the first time up, then he made a couple outs, and now he walks again. That keeps you from getting any rhythm as a hitter.
Bobby Bonilla now turns around to the left side. In the bottom of the 7th, the Giants are scheduled to send up Hill, Vizcaino, and Brian Johnson. Trailing 4-2. Bonilla with a drive to right center field. Stan Javier's over there for the catch. No runs, no hits, so walk, a man left. Stretch time in San Francisco. They're 2 down.
NBC's coverage of tonight's Division Series game is brought to you by Buick LeSabre for safety and peace of mind. By Sprint, from long-distance paging to internet access, Sprint, it all makes sense. By the 68,000 professionals at Delta Airlines. And by Paramount Pictures' Kiss the Girl, starts Friday, October 3rd at theaters everywhere, rated R.
Gorgeous shot from the Goodyear Blimp Eagle, traveling over 100,000 miles every year, covering major sporting events. Bottom half of the 7th, Glenallen Hill swings on the first pitch. It comes up to Renteria, but his throw pulls Conine off the bag.
Tell you what, Renteria made a poor throw, but you have to give Glenallen Hill credit for that. He made him rush. Glenallen Hill really ran down the line. And watch how quickly he gets out of the box. I mean, he is hustling. The ball bounces up on him. Now he looks. See, he takes a look at Glenallen Hill, and he sees that he has to hurry, and he throws it away.
You know, Joe, he might have beat that throw anyway.
It was going to be very close.
It was going to be close.
But you could see Renteria look up at him, and he saw he had to hurry, and he did, and he threw it away.
Renteria's second throwing error of the night. Vizcaino 0 for 2. Hit the ball well as last time, sending Sheffield to the wall and right to make the catch. Each team has 6 hits, but one of the 6 for Florida, a Devon White grand slam. This ball might drop, and it does. On an error and a bloop, the Giants have the tying runs aboard in the last of the 7th.
Now the Marlin bullpen has been busy over the last half an inning. Right-hander, left-hander, Powell and Cook. And here's that last little flare. Hit by Vizcaino to short left. One more time, little low outside sinker. And Vizcaino drops it in left.
Well, this huddle is for a reason. They're trying to decide how they're going to defense the bunt. Brian Johnson is going to be up there in a bunting situation, and they want to know whether they want to use a wheel play, whether they're going to play it straight up, what they're going to do.
Dusty Baker, 4 LCSs with the Dodgers, 3 World Series. This is his first postseason as a manager. His '93 team won 103 games and lost the National League West. It was then just a 2-division setup by a game to a terrific Atlanta Braves team.
If you're the Florida Marlins, you have to play this straight up. I don't believe you can go to a wheel play and take a chance on letting the Giants have a big inning. If they give you an out, you go ahead and take it.
Brian Johnson 0 for 2. Squares, takes high. By the wheel play, you mean the shortstop moving over to cover third base on a ball bunted to the left side?
And the third baseman charging from third. And they played it straight up, which is the way I think you have to play it in this situation.
Worst thing they can do, Joe, is tie the game. I mean,
right.
You got to take your sure out. And then if something happens after that, the worst is a tie. And that runner at second's got to be careful, too. Glenn Allen Hill with Charlie Johnson out there.
Took the bunt off.
Sonny Jackson now, the Giants third base coach, again sending signs to Johnson. And the runners at first and second.
Damon Berryhill, the switch hitting reserve catcher, is in the on deck circle. Pitcher's spot due next. Bunted foul, 1-2.
Well, did you see Renteria cut in behind the runner at second base in case Johnson missed? Renteria was back in there to take a throw from Johnson.
Let's take a look here. No one moves until Johnson bunts the ball. The only one charging is at first base. Bobby Bonilla staying at third in hopes that the ball's running back to Fernandez. They'll be able to throw it to him and get a force out at third.
Remember a couple of nights ago, the key play in that series up in Seattle when Jeff Rebele with 2 strikes on him made the successful bunt, led to the big inning.
Dusty doesn't normally play like that, so I don't expect him to put a bunt sign on with Johnson in this situation, but that was a big play in there.
Down low, 2-2.
What I don't understand is he missed with the first pitch and he wasn't bunting the second pitch. That I don't understand. This is a situation, you're the home team, you're down 2 runs. You have to tie it before you can win it.
The Marlins a win away from the NLCS. Giants making him sweat for it, but Johnson goes down on strikes. Second time Alex Fernandez has fanned Brian Johnson tonight.
Big pitch here for Fernandez. There it is, a good fastball. And Johnson with a swing and a miss. So again, Johnson failing the sacrifice. Now the strikeout. And now we're going to get the pinch hitter.
At first, Damon Berryhill was in the on-deck circle. That raised an eyebrow because he's their only reserve catcher. Now he goes back, and it's going to be Marvin Bernard, who had 15 pinch hits this year. He's been tremendous off the bench for Dusty Baker. Alex Fernandez, the Miami native who came home, signing as a free agent with the Marlins. And Leland letting him gut it out here in the 7th. Fouls the first one away. The inning began with Glenn Allen Hill reaching on Renteria's throwing error. Vizcaíno then sent a soft liner into left for a base hit. Johnson failed to sacrifice, then struck out. 1 out, 2 on, 4-2 Marlins, bottom of the 7th. And the 0-1 pitch got the outside corner.
Fernandez is making big pitches in this clutch situation. He gets a little breaking ball right on the outside corner. Let's take a look at this. You can see it move down 3 inches. Not a big breaking ball, but nice strike.
Squib foul.
I like to see Fernandez right here come really inside, Joe. He's gone away, and Bernard just laced one foul on a pitch around the outside corner to come in tight on him to get him to try and chase him there or just back him off.
Well, he did go inside. Bernard
Not far enough for me. Here's the last pitch now. That's a strike inside. And Bernard again got a piece to foul it off. 92-mile-an-hour fastball. It didn't go down very much. Just a couple of inches off the inside, but close enough for a strike. And he hit it foul. So you really got to bust him high and tight. Get up inside.
Bernard asked for time. Hill at second. Vizcaíno at first. And another 0-2 pitch. Got him swinging.
Well, Fernandez is reaching back, getting everything that he has left. And he's been successful after the first two runners reach. He struck out Johnson. Now he comes back inside. He fouls it. Fastball away. Fouled again. And this is the pitch right here. Good fastball down and in. Not a lot that he could do with it. Perfect pitch down and in after all the fastballs out over the plate.
So Fernandez records his 4th and 5th strikeouts of the night, back-to-back, on Johnson and the pinch hitter Bernard. As you can see, the pitch count is mounting in the 7th. At shortstop, Renteria. He started the inning with an error, but he ends it by recording the force out at second base. And the Giants had something going, but Fernandez shuts them down. 4-2 after 7.
The last pitch in the Giants' 7th. Sharply hit ground ball by Javier. Renteria starts the fielder's choice force at second. And there's the Giants dugout and Dusty Baker. Watch his reaction. Yep. Not this time.
A lot of people think that guy, Dusty Baker, should be the National League Manager of the Year. His team finished last each of the last 2 years, then won the division this time around.
Well, I don't. If I had a vote, he would get my vote simply because they brought so many new people in here, and he had to mold them all into a team. There are a lot of great jobs done in the National League this year, though.
Last year, the Giants were 68 and 94. And this year, 90 and 72. Of course, the whole divisional setup has changed since 1993. There are more divisions to win, and some of them have only 4 teams in them. Moises Alou lifts one to shallow center field. Drifting over a bit is Stan Javier to make the catch. So some of these comparisons, both for regular season performances and the postseason, have to be placed in context. Start talking about postseason records. You've got additional at-bats, additional turns to pitch. Winning a division or getting into postseason doesn't imply the same kind of accomplishment that it used to, at least not necessarily. Roberto Hernandez, who was on the mound in the 9th inning of each of the 2 losses for the Giants in Florida, comes on now in the 8th to try and keep his team close. Conine wraps one through the hole for a 1-out single, his 2nd straight hit. Doubleheader Sunday football on NBC starts at noon Eastern with the pregame show. Then in game 1, most of the country sees Marcus Allen and the Chiefs taking on Dan Marino and the Dolphins. In the second part of the doubleheader, check your local listings, but a majority of the country will get San Diego and Oakland. It all begins at noon Eastern with the NFL on NBC. Charles Johnson has walked twice and grounded out. Up high, ball 1. Well, the Giants are trailing here, and they use Roberto Hernandez in the 8th. It would have been interesting to see if the Giants took a slim lead to the 9th inning whether Dusty would have gone to Hernandez again or called on Rod Beck.
More than likely he would have gone to Beck, because he has maintained all along that Beck was still his closer, even though Hernandez did close some games for them. He said Beck was his closer, and Beck has not pitched much in this series. So I think he was going to be the guy if, in that situation, if it does occur. Obviously he would be the guy now because Hernandez is on here in the 8th. But I want to go back to what we talked about in the 6th inning. How big a pitch that was coming to Charles Johnson when he ended up walking him. They talked about it and decided what they wanted to do, but they ended up walking him. Because when you pitch with the bases loaded, you just cut down your margins for error.
This ball is sizzled by the lunging Miller and into the corner. Conine is on his way to third. It doesn't take a friendly bounce for Bonds. Now it gets away from him. Conine's going to be able to score. Had Bonds been able to field it cleanly, Conine doesn't run well enough for you to suspect that he'd score. It could have been second and third. Let's see on the replay. With the naked eye, it was hard to see what that ball did in the corner.
And again, the pitch inside on Johnson, and he turned on it into the corner out there. Now watch Bonds try to play it off the wall. It gets by him the first time. He finally runs it down, but too late. Conine scores, and Johnson's got the double. Here's a better angle. There's the bullet hit by Charles Johnson into the left field corner. Now watch Bonds try to play the carom off the wall, but there is no carom because it goes on that angle there and rides right alongside.
The door was open, though, and somebody was trying to close the door. Otherwise, it might have rolled through the open space, and then we would have had an umpire's ruling.
Well, not just that, but the closing of the door forced the ball to bounce erratically away from Bonds. He was expecting it to roll around. That's why he was going in the corner to get it, and someone closed the door, and it changed the direction of the ball, changed the flight.
You saw Barry looking back in disgust.
Well, if that's a Giants fan out there, you got to open the door and get the ground rule double, and the runner holds at third.
See the
there
ball?
It is. There you see the ball caroming off the padding area out there, the padded area. The door was closed, but Bonds, as you said.
Well, now it's 5-2.
Go ahead, Bob.
I'm not so sure that it hit.
I don't think
what would have been the door. It hit the other part of the padding. It doesn't quite get the door, but perhaps it was disconcerting for Bonds. Maybe he caught that out of the corner of his eye and it distracted him, perhaps.
Well, I still want to see it one more time because I see something closing there.
Oh, yeah, the door is closing, but I don't think the ball hits the door part. I think it just misses it. Meanwhile, what the heck was the guy doing opening and closing the door?
There's the guy right there, and he closed it like he's closing it now.
He ought to close it and stay behind it. And perhaps don a disguise next time he pops out.
We see that guy at a game in Miami. I'm suspicious.
Well, it makes a big difference because if they hold runners at second and third, they can go ahead and walk Devon White. Now, I believe it hits the door that's closing right there. See, it caroms away from it. It hits it and changes the direction. Yeah, it glanced off the door. Barry was going to get it. But like I said, changes because if there were runners at second and third, they could walk Devon White and force them to do something with Alex Fernandez.
Meanwhile, the Marlins are about to close the door on the Giants, leading 5-2, tacking on an insurance run here in the 8th.
And again against Roberto Hernandez.
Devon White, who had the grand slam, batting from the right side, back in the 6th. Foul tip into the glove of Brian Johnson, and he goes down on strikes. That's the second out.
Well, not only was that a blazing fastball, it registered 100 miles an hour on the radar gun. You see Rod Beck throwing in the bullpen along with Rich Rodriguez.
Both Beck and Hernandez, the guy on the mound now, are free agents after the season. The Giants will retain only one.
Jim Eisenreich's going to pinch hit.
The 38-year-old veteran, still a dangerous hitter.
So we've seen the last of Alex Fernandez.
Eisenreich went to the World Series in '93 with the Phils. Began his career with Minnesota. So Jim Leyland let Fernandez work his way out of a tough spot. 2 on, nobody out in the 7th. But now with a chance to tack on another run with a base hit here. He removes him for the pinch hitter. So we'll see a new Marlin pitcher in the bottom of the 8th. 3-0. Here's Leland, one of the most highly regarded managers in baseball. He's only number 3 on the marquee in his own city, with Pat Riley and Jimmy Johnson coaching there. Ball strike, 3-1.
Maybe not for long.
So that may change, huh?
That could change, sure. That is Cook. What a job he did the other day.
Eisenreich draws a pinch hit walk. That'll bring up the second baseman, Craig Counsell. And it'll bring Dusty Baker to the mound. Beck and Rodriguez getting ready. And he wants the left-hander, Rich Rodriguez. San Francisco Bay in the foreground as the Marlins try to hold the Giants at bay with a couple innings left. Hasn't been a good series for Roberto Hernandez. He had a couple of walk-offs in Florida, throwing the last pitch in 9th inning defeats, and here he couldn't hold the Marlins in the 8th. Replaced by the journeyman Rich Rodriguez. 34-year-old left-hander, has been with San Diego, the Marlins briefly, Cardinals, now the Giants. 4-3 this year with 1 save, and this ball is by the diving JT Snow, and it's more trouble for the Giants. A run home and runners at second and third as Florida boosts their lead to 6-2.
Well, Jim Leyland talked about Counsell earlier tonight. Said he's a blue-collar guy. He does the job for you. He goes out there and breaks his backside each and every time. Here's a double just inside the line past the diving JT Snow.
And Snow has him played way off the line. They didn't necessarily expect Counsell to pull the left-hander Rodriguez, and even JT Snow can't make that play. The ball was scorched.
Well, he got the ball down and in, and that's where a lot of left-handers like the ball, and that's the reason he pulled it. Down and in fastball, and he pulled it past JT Snow.
So Rodriguez was brought on to face one left-handed hitter who promptly doubled against him. Exit Rodriguez, enter Beck.
This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Office of the Commissioner of Baseball and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form without express written consent.
Rod Beck, second in the National League with 37 saves behind Cincinnati's Jeff Shaw, who had 42. Makes his first appearance of this series facing Edgar Renteria. Things are already pretty close to out of hand. If Renteria delivers a hit here, it'll be all but over. Craig Counsell's double off Rodriguez made it 6-2. Second and third, 2 out. Renteria slaps one to left, hit it hard, but right at Barry Bonds. They score 2, they leave 2. Only 2 more turns at bat left for the Giants. Down by 4. RBI doubles in the top half of the inning from Charles Johnson and Craig Counsell. Up the Marlin lead to 6-2. And on comes the well-traveled Dennis Cook, who turns 35 tomorrow. With the Giants sending Bill Miller, Barry Bonds, and Jeff Kent to the plate in the bottom of the 8th.
Even throws pretty good when he's not on the mound.
Throwing that little rocket football up into the stands. Miller, the switch hitter. A pair of singles in 3 previous at-bats. Turns around to the right side. The Giants down by 4 with 6 outs left in their season unless they rally. Here's the line on Alex Fernandez. He pitched 7 innings, gave up 7 hits, 2 runs, both on solo homers by Jeff Kent, who had 3 of the 7 hits against him. He didn't walk anybody, and 2 of his 5 strikeouts came in the clutch in his last inning of work, with 2 out, or 2 on rather, and nobody out in the 7th inning, when he struck out Brian Johnson and the pinch hitter Marvin Bernard back to back.
The key for Fernandez, too, Bob, the fact that he didn't allow a leadoff man to reach until the 6th inning. Gave up the solo home run in the 4th after retiring Bonds.
Popped up right side. Counsell wants it and has it.
If you grade pitchers and the highest mark they can get is with runners in scoring position, Alex Fernandez comes through at high marks when he has to pitch out of a first and second, nobody out. He strikes out Brian Johnson, strikes out Bernard, and gets a ground ball from Javier to end the inning. That's when he was his toughest in this entire ball game, is when he was under the pressure of a first and second, no one out situation.
Barry Bonds 0 for 3, struck out into a double play his last time up. Perhaps his last at bat of the season. Ball 1 to him. Two and 0. Dennis Cook, have left arm, will travel. Started with the Giants in the late 80s, then the Phillies, the Dodgers, the Indians, the White Sox, the Rangers, and finally the Marlins. 1-2 this year. Not a closer, doesn't have any saves, 3.90 ERA. With the shift on, it's the shortstop on the first base side of the bag, Renteria, who throws Bonds out. So Bonds has hit a ground ball to the shortstop position and technically been thrown out 5-3 by the third baseman Bonilla. He's hit a ground ball to second base and put it in the scorebook as 6-3, thrown out by the shortstop Renteria. That doesn't matter to him. What matters to him is 0 for 4 and 4 runs down on the scoreboard.
This has been a good ball game because there have been a lot of key moments in this ball game. A lot of drama at certain situations, and none bigger than when Barry was at bat his last time up.
Jeff Kent, a single and a pair of solo home runs. Ball 1.
Same old's true for Wilson Alvarez. I mean, he's pitching a solid game until he loads the bases, and then Devon White hits the grand salami against him to put Florida up.
In there for a strike, 1-1.
You know, I don't understand how this guy has so much traveled. I really don't. He's always been a fairly decent thrower. I mean, a guy with good velocity, throws in the high 80s to low 90s sometimes, but he's really done a lot of traveling. I mean, he's around because he's a left-hander and is going to be around.
Left-handers that can throw strikes are a premium. I mean, everyone looks for it.
I never understood why this guy moved around so much.
Kind of guy who could still be pitching in the big leagues 5 years from now when he's 40. In the air to right. They'll retire Kent for the first time tonight. Sheffield puts it away. They go in order in the 8th. On to the 9th, 6-2 Marlins.
NBC's coverage of tonight's Division Series game is brought to you by Genuine Chevrolet, the cars more Americans trust. By Canon Laser Color, its only competition is reality. By Visa, it's everywhere you want to be. And by Liberty Mutual Insurance, helping people live safer, more secure lives. That's the freedom of liberty. On to the top half of the 9th in San Francisco.
The Marlins leading it 6-2. And on the verge of a showdown with the Atlanta Braves in the National League Championship Series. Gary Sheffield is the hitter against Rod Beck. Sheffield is 0 for 2. He's popped out twice and walked twice. Dusty Baker was telling us before the game that Beck isn't thrilled with facing Gary Sheffield because they have a long history going all the way back to the minor leagues. And sometimes, he says, it comes down to the head rather than the arm and the bat. He says sometimes if you get off on the right or wrong foot against a guy, it doesn't matter how well you're going or how poorly he's going, that pattern will hold. Breaking ball in there, 2-2. He cited as an example Bob Forsch, excellent right-handed pitcher, primarily with the Cardinals, and he said, I hit a home run off Bob Forsch, an American Legion ball, and I owned him thereafter.
That's going way back.
Bounce foul. He said, I got John Matlack several times in the minor leagues. Matlack came to the major leagues. I walked to the batter's box. He looked at me. I looked at him. I tipped my cap and I said, yep, it's still me. Well,
still Sheffield.
It's still Sheffield. We're not counting the Giants out, but when this game ends, we'll take our leave rather quickly. So let us say right now, tonight's Chevrolet player of the game is Alex Fernandez, who stands to be the winning pitcher in what could be the Division Series clinching game for the Marlins. Sheffield taken out, and they'll send in a pinch runner here. It's John Wayner, reserve outfielder, who no doubt will take Sheffield's place in the outfield. Bobby Bonilla. Oh for 4 tonight. Fly to deep left, struck out, grounded out, fly to center.
Joe, and they were talking earlier about Rod Beck and having lost a lot of his velocity. It's very evident here. I mean, he hadn't thrown a good fastball tonight. Hadn't pitched all that much in the last 5 or 6 games either.
Well, he uses the curveball, the slider, and the splitter a lot more now than he did a couple of years ago. You're right about that.
It'll be interesting to see the direction the Giants take in the offseason. With Beck and Hernandez, both free agents. Rolled to short. Vizcaíno steps on the bag and then throws over to Snow to complete the double play. So Bonilla is now 0 for 5. This date has been a great one in Giant history. October 3rd. October 3rd, 51. Bobby Thompson's shot heard round the world. October 3rd, 62. First Giant pennant in San Francisco. Had to win a 2 out of 3 playoff with the Dodgers and come from 4-2 down in the 9th inning to do it. 1982, Joe, your home run of Terry Forster eliminated the Dodgers in their chase with the Atlanta Braves in the National League West. It didn't win anything for the Giants, but the next best thing for Giant fans, anything that sticks a dagger into the hearts of the Dodgers and their fans. But October 3rd, 1997 does not loom as a happy date for the Giants, barring a miracle in the last half of the 9th. Moises Alou swings and misses. 0-2 to him. Something was distracting Bill Miller at third base. Whatever it was, it's been squared away. 2 out, nobody on. The 0-2 pitch. He wasn't able to check. He's finished. Johnson tags him to make it official as he had bobbled the ball. On to the 9th. 4 runs down, 3 outs left. Back after this from your local station. their season about to end, the Giants will send up J.T. Snow, Glenn Allen Hill, and Jose Vizcaino. This has been their slogan all year long. Anything can happen.
And they have come back a lot of times in the 9th inning this year, Bob, so I guarantee you they're not giving up yet. They had a disadvantage to start with because we talked about the fact that J.T. Snow has not had a good year hitting from the right side, and that's where he starts.
Just 188 right-handed, 313 left-handed. Just one of his 28 homers from the right side. Swings on the first one and fouls it back.
And knowing Jim Leyland, that's why he's leaving Dennis Cook in here for this one at bat, probably. And you got Rob Nen firing down in the bullpen.
Right-handed hitter Glenn Allen Hill next, then the switch hitter Vizcaino to follow. High 1-1 for the sake of argument.
You gonna argue with Bob?
Well, actually, there's no one to argue with about this. This is just more an observation or
well, you can turn it into an argument.
Well, if you'd like me to, I'd be happy to oblige. Here's the 1-1, 2-1. Kevin Brown was 1-0 this year against the Braves, and Alex Fernandez was 2-0 as Florida took 8 of 12 from Atlanta.
And
possibility of 2 head-to-head matchups between Kevin Brown and Greg Maddux in that series.
Correct. But if it goes that way, there will be a lot of nice matchups in that series. As I'm sure it would be Alex Fernandez matched up against Glavine. But the edge still goes to the Braves because they have Smoltz left and, of course, Denny Nagel.
How'd you like to be deep enough? I'm sorry?
How long has it been since he's pitched?
Nagel, well, he would have pitched game 4, but the Braves swept the Astros. So how'd you like to be deep enough to have this problem? You got a 20-game winner. Would have been a Cy Young candidate in most seasons. And he can't work his way into the rotation. After you sweep, he will have gone 10, 11 days before pitching again. He's in the rotation, but that rotation is so deep that he doesn't necessarily get to work. Deep and efficient in this case as they made quick work of the Astros. The 2-2 pitch. Full count to J.T. Snow.
Dennis Cook now here 3-2, and again coming with another fastball. There's no other pitch to throw here to J.T. Snow. I mean, this is the guy you got to get and throw it right down the pipe and let him see how far he can hit it.
Fouls it off. Just about everybody standing. And whether or not the Giants do anything here in the ninth, I expect they'll get a round of applause of deep appreciation when this is over for the season they provided here. He draws a walk.
We're not out of it yet. It's not over. Down by 4. Joe said earlier in the inning as Jim Leyland comes out, and we're going to get a pitching change here. They've come from behind many times before this year.
Rob Nen will bring some heat out of the bullpen. We'll be right back. Jim Leyland, who made it to the LCS 3 times with the Pirates, is 3 outs away from going there as the skipper of the Marlins.
And each time he had to go against that Braves pitching staff when he was with Pittsburgh.
Now the first time, in Cincinnati, right? But the second 2 times against the Braves.
Right.
Rob Nen comes in. And falls behind Glenn Allen Hill 2-0. there, 2-1, with Hill taking all the way, trying to wait Nen out.
Should be an automatic take sign in that situation. You can't hit a 4-run homer with one man on. You got to try to get some base runners.
And that one misses. 3-1.
And this truthfully should be another automatic take sign, because again, you have to try to get base runners.
He swings on the 3-1 and fouls it back. That has you shaking your head, Joe.
Well, you can't hit a 4-run homer. You need to give him a chance to walk you. Anything, any kind of way you can get help here, you need to take advantage of it.
And a second consecutive walk as the Nen fastball is up and in.
Nothing else doing in the Florida bullpen.
So Cook walks Snow. Nen comes in and he walks Hill.
Well, Rob, Nen is their closer. You see Charles Johnson trying to pull that ball down, but Rutherford would have nothing to do with that.
Nen had 35 saves this year. Not that it matters. All they're trying to do is get to the LCS, but this technically is not a save situation with a 4-run lead as he entered. Ball one, high and away to Vizcaino.
Well, he grabbed his right hip there, Bob, when he released that ball. He looked like something bothered him. I don't know if it was the mound or what, but he was not. His follow-through was unorthodox there, a little off balance.
Giants down 4. They need one more on here to get the tying run.
Let's take a look at that last pitch and watch how he loses balance. Oh, he tapped his foot a little too quickly. His left foot did not slide into the delivery. He kind of tapped it and had to pick it up again.
Yeah, didn't clear the dirt. Dug in.
Leland outwardly placid. Inside he's churning. Set his pitching coach Larry Rothschild out there.
Activity now in the Marlins bullpen, and in a hurry. In a big hurry.
That's a strike. Jay Powell, who if anything throws harder than Nen. He can get it up to around 100 miles an hour, and the veteran left-hander Ed Vosburg. One pitch. Ground ball right side. Conine goes for the lead runner and gets him to Renteria.
Smart play by Renteria not to try to make something happen at first base. Just get one. That's all you want. You want to try to, you'll trade bases for outs here. All you want is 3 outs. Good job here by Conine to make sure he gives him an accurate throw. And Glenn Allen Hill didn't slide.
So now runners at first and third. They need to put one more man aboard to bring the tying run to the plate. Brian Johnson, who's 0 for 3 with a pair of strikeouts. Ball strike one. Damon Berryhill into the on-deck circle. Fastball foul back, 0-2. Still 0-2 to Brian Johnson. 2 on, 1 out, last half of the ninth. Florida leads the best of 5 series 2 games to none. And leading 6-2 here. Another 0-2 pitch. The Giants are down to their last out.
This looked like a nasty splitter. inside, and it's a big strikeout. Johnson chased it, or down low and outside, I should say. There it is. That's a splitter. And the big strikeout. Dusty Baker now down to his final out.
And he'll send up Damon Berryhill off the bench. He hit .257 with 3 home runs and 23 RBIs. He has postseason experience with Atlanta. And in fact, homered in the World Series in '92 against Toronto and in the LCS in '93 against the Phillies. But a homer leaves them 1 short here. That's the reason for the delay. Write your own caption.
Time's going to be called here because Moises Salou out in left field is having problems. They're throwing stuff out on the field out there, and he's going over to tell the umpire that there's too much garbage being thrown out there.
Well, a roll of toilet tissue is one thing, but a bottle is another.
Yeah, there's some stuff laying out near the warning track, Bob, that has come out of the seats out there, and well, I don't know why, but it's not the first time it's happened. And Jim Leyland, of course, concerned for the safety of his players. Why fans do this? It's been a good series, and been a good ball game here tonight.
Yes, it has. A lot of dramatic moments here tonight.
Charlie Relaford, the plate umpire, saying, "Come on, let's go. We're all set."
I wonder if he'd say somebody's throwing bottles at him.
The 1-0 pitch. It gets away from Charles Johnson. It'll be interesting to see how they score that. Johnson has had only 1 pass ball all season.
That one has to be a pass ball.
That looked like a ball that he could have caught. It looked like it just handcuffed him.
But as you mentioned, the postseason play doesn't count anyway. But that ball, well, no.
In the dirt. That's a wild pitch.
No, that's a wild pitch. You're
Absolutely.
right.
Wild pitch.
I guess we should have known better.
And Hill moves to second, with Snow, of course, holding third. Stan Javier is on deck. 1 more ball, and the tying run comes to the plate.
Well, let's see how many strikes he takes here.
I say at least 2.
Well, I said that with Glenn Allen Hill, too, but it didn't work that way.
There's 1.
The Giants are giving it a go here in the 9th without the aid of a base hit. Couple of walks.
There's the guy who was behind the door before. Making himself a bit more useful this time.
At least as far as the Giants are concerned.
The fabulous Baker boys are down to their last out.
It's about the 3rd or 4th time that Leland has gone to the glasses to wipe him off to make sure he's seeing what he's seeing here.
And every time he puts them back on, it still looks the same. He needs 1 more out. The 3-1 pitch. Swings on it, and this could do it. Counsell throws him out. The Marlins sweep, and the Braves are next. Well, the Atlanta Braves beat the Marlins over the course of the season in the National League East, but didn't handle them head-to-head. The Braves lost 8 of 12 against Florida. Kevin Brown and Alex Fernandez were especially effective. Chipper Jones hit well against the Florida pitching staff. And now here come the Marlins again to Atlanta to begin the National League Championship Series on Tuesday.
Well, I would say that those records are not going to make a lot of difference when these playoffs start. When the LCS starts next week, no one's going to be thinking about those records. And you see the excitement, and maybe it's a little more than excitement. There's a lot of relief, I think, on the part of the Florida Marlins because of all the money that was spent to acquire some of the players, and they were expected to win. Now they feel like they have kind of rewarded Wayne Huizenga for spending a lot of the money, and Jim Leyland obviously very pleased, but he knows he still has a ways to go.
He's been one step from the World Series 3 times before. 2 of those 3 times against Bobby Cox and the Atlanta Braves. Now we'll try it again with a different team and from a different set of circumstances. He had won the division outright in Pittsburgh in 90, 91, and 92. This time they get in as the wild card. In the short history of this format, no wild card team has ever made the World Series. The Orioles, as the wild card, made it as far as the ALCS a year ago before losing to the Yankees. Devon White was the hitting hero with a grand slam home run tonight, and he's with Jim Gray.
All right, thank you very much, Bob. Well, Devon, 6th inning. Tell us about the grand slam.
Well, in that situation, Wilson, he was struggling. He threw me the first pitch curveball, so I knew he had to come to me. And I just, try to put the ball and play hard, and, I was grateful for that slam.
Now, you've had 6 grand slams, obviously none bigger than this. What about this team now advancing against Atlanta? You've beaten them 8 out of 12 times, 3 times at Turner Field. Can you have the same success in the postseason?
Well, the postseason is definitely a different story. We got to go in there very hungry and not worry about what went on during the season. We got to go in there and, fight if we want it.
How intimidating are the Braves? They beat you guys by 9 games in the division.
They're a very good team. You can't, we're not going to take anything away from them. The Giants were a very good team. Like I said, we got to go in there, and it's going to be a dogfight, hopefully.
Devon, congratulations. We look forward to the National League Championship
Thank you very much for having me.
All right. We have Wilson. Alex Fernandez, if he'll join us here real quick. Alex, congratulations to you. Great pitching performance tonight. What was the key for you to enable yourself to settle down?
Well, actually, it was pretty loud in here tonight, and I knew it was going to be kind of loud, not this loud. And I had pretty good stuff all day, and I just battled my butt off. And the guys really, Devo with the grand slam, really give me a lift there, and I keep going hard. And all around, we played a great game.
Do you know the pitching rotation against the Braves? Will Kevin Brown pitch 1, 4, and 7?
I have no idea. You're going to have to ask Jim Leyland about that. He's the boss. We're just excited. We're going to soak this in today and go from here.
Congratulations to you. Enjoy the moment.
Thank you. My pleasure. Thank you.
All right, let's send it back to Bob Costas.
Jim, thanks very much. The Braves and the Marlins had the 2 best records in the National League overall. They sweep their respective division series. The Braves over the Astros and the Marlins now over the Giants. The first 2 in Florida were very close. In this one, the Giants jumped in front on a Jeff Kent home run, and Kent would later hit another one. He had 2 solo shots tonight, but the grand slam by Devon White off Wilson Alvarez turned the thing around, and Rob Nen was on the mound to finish it. And now it's on to Atlanta. NBC's coverage of the playoffs continues tomorrow night at 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific. And there's a nice moment. Baker and Leland embracing. Tomorrow night we've got the Yankees and the Indians in Game 3 of their division series from Jacobs Field. Coming up after your late local news, The Tonight Show with Jay Leno, except on the West Coast. David Duchovny and Julianne Moore are the guests. For Jim Gray, Joe Morgan, and Bob Uecker, I'm Bob Costas. This has been a presentation of NBC Sports, home of the 1997 World Series.
Notre Dame football, the baseball playoffs and the World Series, the NBA, the Breeders' Cup, the National Football League, and the Super